Okay, so I was asked to make a video regarding a conversation I had with my buddy about the curious history around marriage licensing in our country. Now, this was as it was told to me, and a few other things that I researched that kind of added all together and culminated in my opinion regarding gay marriage and my criticism to both sides of the debate. But let me first lay the groundwork for my position. I think licensing should be abolished. Marriage licensing. Add to that, there's components to the marriage licensing that calls out essentially both blowhard type sides to the equation, in my view. And so really there's two big components to marriage licensing that I want to talk about. The first is, what is the point of the government restricting marriage to certain demographics? Now, there's an article called "The Secular Case Against Gay Marriage." Now, it talks about the reasons why the government would have an interest in being selective about who the government gives tax benefits or tax breaks to certain demographics. And when you read through the article, and my takeaway was, the reason they are very selective is because they want to give this tax benefit or the tax break to the demographic that is the most likely to produce children, aka additional taxpayers. They also, the article lines out, they also restrict interracial marriage, not interracial marriage, incestual marriage, not interracial, incestual marriage. And it goes in a lot of detail. It's very lined out. But my takeaway from it was the whole being hesitant about giving gay people marriage licensings was that statistically they weren't going to be benefited by it in terms of actual cold hard cash. So it's a really cool article. Check it out. It's actually an MIT article. It was done by somebody at MIT or something like that. Very interesting article. The secular case against gay marriage. Now, combine that, the government's only interest in marriage is to make more taxpayers, basically incentivize people making, funding stock. Then you get to the history of marriage licensing. Now, with law, you ever read any kind of case law? It's worded really, really weird. It's real funny how it's worded. It's completely outside of any kind of vernacular that you or I would say to each other. And the main reason for that is that you want to remove as best as you can any vague or contextual or means of somebody misunderstanding what you meant, that there is no expression. Each word has a finite understood definition, and literally the way it works is this: the definition upon the definition upon the definition upon the definition. So when you look at law terminology and you start to break down what each word means and what the definitions are, and then expound the definitions. And from what I was told, what licensing means in the law, and you look it up, it means permission by the state to do something which would otherwise be illegal. Then you're like, okay, so what is marriage as pertaining to the law? Permission to miscegenate, or to miscegenate. Not misogyny, miscegenate. What's miscegenate? What is miscegenation? You look that up. Miscegenation is marrying outside of one's race. So literally, every blowhard lefty that, racism everywhere, you get that marriage license, or you wish to participate in this government scheme of marriage licensing, you are participating in an old holdover of racism. Or when they instituted marriage licensing, because at a time when real oppression really was going down, that this was your magical piece of paper from the government to marry outside your race, to marry a Native American, to marry an immigrant of some other nationality. Because normally, from what I've come to understand, when it's just two white folks or two black folks or whatever, you just had a ceremony, the preacher wrote their name down in the Bible, and off you went, and that was it. And so the government got in the business of marriage to make some money and to regulate who and what, and to say if they wanted people to marry outside of the race or not. Or if you wanted to marry outside your race, it came at a cost to get your license. So you can leave your material possessions to your spouse after you pass away, when normally they likely wouldn't do it. It garners digging in. I could be wrong, but this is what I was told. So you combine that with these blowhard right types and these blowhard left types, and you see that they're just fighting for some stuff fighting for not even an institution, a legal structure that's got its hands dirty. So you have your blowhard left types that are fighting for this licensing and advocating for this licensing that's got its roots in racism, and that's the holy of holy awful that you can do. That's the blasphemy, most holiest of blasphemies. Then you have these blowhard right types that talk about their holy sacrament, yet want to get the government involved in it. So you basically, instead of it just being, as far as their deal, your woman, yourself, a man, woman, and God, now they got some stooge in a black suit, or Uncle Sam. I thought this was the Holy Trinity, not a four-way. And then you add on top of that, my perception of all the whole big debate was there was these two groups fighting for this magical M word. Only one group was being honest about this holy sacrament they were fighting for, but yet they don't want to do nothing or talk about the abysmal divorce rate. So they have nothing to really say about protecting their holy sacrament, because that's kind of, doesn't hold much water. And then you got the anti-religious blowhard left types that are wanting, marriage licensing for gay folks and equal representation, but then they get real nasty and they're only talking, and they're complaining for their magical M word. When you bring up the idea of civil unions, oh no, they want their magical M word. It has to be the magical M word license, not equal protection under the law. Different but equal. So it's all just a big bunch of people bitching and belly aching over this thing. And for the most part, the most blowhard politicized types are being dishonest about their motives. And so I'm like, burn it all down. Figuratively. My thought of it was like, why have marriage licensing? Why? If it's about your bedroom, get the government out of it. Lefties. Righties. If it's so holy, leave it in your damn church. So, anyway, that's my spiel. And I may be incorrect on some things, but I'm not here to try to lie to you. Nevertheless, take care. Peace.